Good morning and a very warm welcome to the StepOver webinar series in spring 2022. My name is Joachim Fischer, and together with my colleague Julian, we appreciate that you're spending the next 30 minutes with us. The speaker will be Julian, and his topic today is automation even without integration, the e-signature for your business. In the end of the presentation, we have a 5-minute Q&A session, and please do not hesitate. Just type your questions into the FAQ button at the bottom of the Zoom webinar. I'll sort and group those questions, and we answer them in the last 5 minutes. If there are more questions than we can answer, we come back to you via email or telephone and answer them afterwards. Our marketing department will do a follow-up via email, and we'll send you a link to the YouTube recording of that presentation and obviously our email addresses if there are more questions. For those of you who are new to the webinar series, StepOver is a pioneer in the electronic digital signature field. We are doing that for more than 20 years now. And we started as a small hardware company out of Stuttgart, Germany, producing signature pads. And normally small companies start with small customers. We started with a huge project with the Allianz Insurance, 10,000 of signature pads for their field reps. And from that small hardware company, we grew to an international business covering all aspects of the electronic digital signature today. So from still hardware pads to signatures on your smartphone, local software, cloud-based solutions, online and offline. And still today, everything we offer is designed and made in Stuttgart, Germany. Just visit our website to see different solutions we're doing projects with customers all over the world, and especially also with our partners. So if you're interested, don't hesitate to contact us, send us a note. We're happy to help with more than 20 years of experience in the e-signature field. With that, I hand over to my colleague Julian. Julian, it's all yours.
Thank you, Joachim. My name is Julian Benz. I am a key account manager here at StepOver, and I'm responsible for overseeing our partner and reseller network worldwide. So basically, if you're an international customer somewhere around the world, I'll be likely the person who is going to help you implement our electronic signature solution into your workflows. As Joachim said, if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to either write in the Q&A button, or you see my email here on the screen. Please don't hesitate to write me an email either. I'm happy to get back to you. So today we're going to talk about automation without the requirement for integration when it comes to your electronic signature workflow. For that, we've got a quick overview of what we're going to discuss today. First of all, we're going to have a look at why should you even optimize your workflow? What are the benefits? Then we're going to talk about how can you even automate and optimize that workflow. We're then going to answer the all-important question, how can you even sign electronically? And then a very common question, especially from the project planning department, what implementation timeline should businesses expect with an electronic signature solution? We're then going to have a quick live demo of our eSignatureOffice, and we're going to talk a little bit about the compliance of eSignatureOffice, something your legal department will be very interested in. And then finally, we're going to have a summary and the already announced Q&A session. Electronic signatures enable a completely digital workflow without the requirement for break-in media. What that means is basically you no longer need to switch from digital to analog and back to digital. So how does that look? Well, we start off at the very beginning. You either generate a document yourself or you receive a document, for example, from one of your customers. You then need to identify the signatory. That's the first step in the digital realm. However, to then give the document to that signatory, you need to print it. And that's where the first media break occurs. You're going analog. You're printing a document. Then that person needs to sign on a piece of paper. you then need to scan this document in order to get it back into your system to enter it back into the digital realm, where you then process the document for further information, for example, issuing them an invoice, and then finally you're going to archive the document. With electronic signatures, you can cut the entire analog process out. So you're going straight from identifying the signatory to processing a document by signing it electronically. And that has got some drastic advantages, especially in terms of decrease in idle labor time. So that means your employees no longer need to wait for printers. They no longer need to scan the documents that have been signed, and they no longer need to file the original paper-based document for archival purposes in case there's ever a dispute. But even more so, there's a reduction in the resource costs. You no longer need said paper or toner. You no longer need to mail out contracts to your customer to sign them, and you do not need to sustain a physical archive, which is a very expensive process. Also, you have an improved contract completion time. So let's imagine you've got a bank teller who is dealing with a customer. That customer needs to sign something, so they need to send a job to the printer. Then the employee needs to walk to the printer, collect the pages, make sure they're all in order, mark on the paper where the customer needs to sign, afterwards check that the customer has signed it, and then needs to scan it in. All of that takes immense amounts of time, and with an electronic signature, you have a much quicker customer turnover, which means your process runs much more efficiently. Of course, electronic signatures can also drastically help you when it comes to lowering your carbon footprint as a company, because these paper and toner costs do add up. If you think, if you might be signing 10,000 documents a month, that's 120,000 documents a year. That's a lot of paper that needs to be not only printed with toner, but also scanned back in and then stored somewhere. And the biggest return on investment, and a lot of companies don't really think about it because they hope it never happens, is the elimination of mistakes. But to correct mistakes is the most time-intensive process in this entire workflow. With electronic signatures, you will have no longer any filing errors because the entire workflow is automated. You can also auto-validate the signatures, so you can tell your system, do not accept this document until all 3 signatures that are required on this contract from 3 different people are actually in this contract. And of course, you can automatically process the information in the form fields. So let's say an employee takes down the information of a customer. The customer says, actually, what you have in your backend system is no longer correct. Please correct it in this PDF document. Then afterwards, your system can simply read out that PDF document and update all of the relevant information. So the next time you have all of the correct information of that customer. So now that we've seen why it's important to optimize your workflow, we want to show you our software solution that can do it for you. To suit your various needs, you're looking for a solution that can be configured to whatever your use case scenarios are and whatever your infrastructure is. eSignatureOffice is a plug-and-play solution that only needs to be configured once and then does not require any programming whatsoever. It has been continuously developed for the past 2 decades, I think, to allow our customers greatest flexibility. Hence, it is super easy even for non-IT personnel. That's what we've been aiming for with this eSignatureOffice. And this is a configuration rather than an integration, and that's what differentiates it from other typical signature APIs. So let's have a look. Which steps can be automated? And we're going to start at the very beginning, the document upload. So there are various different options available. You can either have a Word document and simply print it via our PDF converter. It directly converts the Word document into a PDF, opens up the application, and identifies the signature fields and has it ready to sign for you, all in one click. You can use a batch or command line file. I'm going to show you a command line file in our presentation, in our demonstration in a moment. You can start it via your browser. So if you have a browser-based application, you can simply initiate the software right from there. So your employee doesn't need to click anything, doesn't need to go to a desktop. They can simply put all of the parameters predefined in the URL, and it takes care of all of that for you. You can, of course, use the simple drag and drop, where you've got our eSignatureOffice as an icon on your desktop, and you simply drag the PDF document onto it, and it opens it up. You can use our watchdog feature. It's quite a clever little feature. Basically, it monitors a folder, and whenever a new document pops up in that folder, it will automatically open up that document, allocate the signature fields for it, ready for you to sign. So if you've got a folder where invoices come in, for example, you can simply put a watchdog feature on it, and it'll open up the document straight away once you receive it. And then finally, of course, eSignatureOffice also supports XML. This is for our more advanced workflows among us here in this webinar. If you've got any questions about the XMLs and how it works, our team is also happy to provide you any information, but be sure in the knowledge that if you provide us with an XML, we will handle it. We will sign a document and then provide the format back to you as an XML, so you can continue straight through your workflow. So these are different options, and it's just a brief overview because we have detailed video tutorials in our online manual that list the numerous advantages of each option and shows you how they can be configured. But as I said, if you've got questions, we've got an excellent support team on hand that are happy to discuss your use case with you, tell you what they think might be the best solution for you, and they can even do the configuration together with you. The next step that you can automate are customizable buttons. And these are basically configurable buttons that allow your employees to execute certain commands. For example, collect signature, or send an email of the finished document, or even things like print a customer copy if the customer requests to have a paper copy of the signed contract. You can, of course, also automatically rename documents with information contained in the document itself. I'm going to show you that in the live demonstration in a moment as well, but just to give you a glimpse, for example, if you've got the contract type, you've got the customer name and today's date, then those are three very good identifications for when you need to archive it or for auditing departments later on to find a contract very quickly, very precisely. And because we are very keen on optimizing your entire workflow, you can even start a third-party program directly from eSignatureOffice. So let's say the signature process is completed. You can tell eSignatureOffice, once the signature is collected and checked, please close yourself automatically and open up program XYZ, and then the document will be transferred directly without your employee needing to find that program, and that's how you can eliminate even more mistakes and a lot of time that's often required for additional clicks. Another thing you can automate are signature sets. And basically what it is, it automatically matches predefined signature fields to information contained inside your document. So for example, placing a signature field above and to the right of the word signature, it can also match the document type to the type of signature required. So that means you could have 15 different documents, and as long as you name them consistently, your signature sets will automatically know which signatures need to be in which document type. And you can even have optional signatures for additional contractual options, such as special insurance. So if you want to make sure that the customer can sign a document, but they don't need to sign a document in order for it to be completed because it is an optional signature, that is also an option. And then lastly, we of course support Adobe form fields. They allow you to automatically populate a PDF document with information from your system, and it is still editable by the employee before the first signature is placed. And again, how that looks, I'm going to show you in just a moment. So, the all-important question, how can you actually sign PDF documents? And you might have guessed, you need signature devices. And the first type of signature device you can use are our StepOver signature pads. We've got a range for your different scenarios. For example, what I'm going to show you in a moment is our 10-inch pad which is this part here to sign the document. The advantage of the 10-inch pad is that you can display a A4 document in its entire width. So let's say you've got a 6-7 page contract that you want your customer to read through carefully. It's very comfortable to do so on such a large screen. The next option is our Windows tablet PCs. And you can simply sign either with your finger on the touchscreen, or if you can, use a pen on the touchscreen, because it represents ergonomically more how you would sign your name with a pen on a piece of paper. And then finally, StepOver also supports Android and iOS devices via our StepOver capture apps. If you're not sure what you need for your business, we are here to help you. So please just reach out and we can tell you exactly what has worked for customers in the past. You can also have hybrid solutions. So we've got some customers that are using tablet PCs as well as signature pads, as well as mobile phones, depending on where their employees are and how they collect the signatures. So what implementation timeline are you going to look at? And your project planning department, as I said earlier, will be very keen on that information. For the majority of customers, they are ready to sign within a week with eSignatureOffice. That is from starting the implementation to the first customer signing a contract. We do have customers where it takes as little as 2 to 4 hours because they have a fairly basic and straightforward workflow. However, we also have customers that have got 50 different documents and need all kinds of configurations that are inserted into the workflow, and it can take up to 2 weeks with that as well. So it just really depends, but as soon as you approach us with your use case, we'll be able to give you a rough estimate of what kind of timeline you're looking at. eSignatureOffice can be used both as a client-based, or also called a native software solution, or as a server client infrastructure, for example via Thin Client. So you can either have it locally installed and have the signature pad connected there and capture a signature, or if you have a server standing in the background and you've got one of those small Thin clients on your desk, that's where the keyboard is hooked up to and the mouse, and as well our signature pad, then you can collect signatures, of course, that way as well. It is available on Windows as well as Citrix and Remote Desktop Protocol, among other TCP IPs. If you're looking for a solution that supports Linux or Mac OS, you're looking for our native signature API, which is available either as 32-bit Delphi or 64-bit .NET. Again, if you don't know what's right for you, give us a call and we can help you. So let's get to our live demonstration. We're going to look at 5 things during that live demonstration. We're first going to have a look at the form field files. So basically what Adobe places into a PDF to fill in information. That could be things like text fields, drop-down menus, radio buttons. It could be already predefined signature fields that our program automatically recognizes as such. We're then going to sign on our DuraSign Pad 10-inch right here in front of me, and I'm going to show to you on my screen what it looks like. We're then going to have a look at the StepOver signature sets and configurable buttons, and then we're going to validate the signature in the final step. So I'm just going to switch over my screen to my desktop so you can see what I'm seeing. This is our PDF document here. I created it for us. It says contract type 7. It's got a bit of Lorem Ipsum text in it to fill it out. And then we've got dimension form fields here where you can simply fill in the information, and we're going to receive the information from the backend. And then we want to place 2 signature fields here, one above and to the right of signature customer, and then we want to place an automatic company stamp to confirm that this document was signed on our premise. So we're going to close this again and going to have a look at the form field file. So all that is basically your system allocating certain variables to fields already contained in a document. The first field contained in a document, if you remember, was name of customer. So we want Miss Olivia Brown to be inserted there from the backend. The second field was the email address, which is olivia.brown@inc.com. So pretty straightforward. You simply tell your backend system the fields that are required to be filled out. It searches for that information and then inserts it for the relevant customer. So this is our command file. I'm simply going to execute it. What it does, it starts up eSignatureOffice. It's automatically going to import this PDF document. It's then going to put the information from the form field files into the PDF document, and then it's going to match the name of the PDF document to the signature set that I already programmed beforehand. And it's a very easy configuration I'm going to show to you after I've placed the signature. So all I do is I start up the command line file. You can see the document is loaded. You can zoom out a bit so you can see it better. And then you've got the information here already inserted. Miss Olivia Brown and the email address. And I'm now going to bring up my phone on the right hand side, so you can also see what the customer is seeing. So this is the signature part in front of me, and Olivia Brown can simply easily scroll through the contract. And now she sees, actually, this is not my correct name anymore. I got married since I've been last here, obviously. So all the employee needs to do is change it from Miss Olivia Brown to Mrs. Olivia Brown. And she also sees the email address is not .com, but .co.uk. And she doesn't want any extras. So all the employee can do is fill that in here, and then Olivia Brown gets the instant feedback again with having the corrected data here now, and she says, I'm happy to sign. So all she needs to do is press the button in the bottom right corner that says signature, and you can see on the screen it automatically jumps to the first signature field, and it does the same for Olivia Brown. So it's very comfortable for her. She cannot sign anywhere she's not supposed to sign. And then I'm just going to sign with Olivia Brown, and you see on the screen there's also a live, you can also see it live on the employee screen. I confirm the signature. The first signature is implemented. You're now implementing the company stamp as well. And Olivia Brown can now review the finalized contract with a name and a company seal in it. So she's very comfortable that the document she just signed was the document she expected to sign, which is obviously very important when it comes to customer trust. I mentioned to you form fields. So we placed two signatures in here. Sorry, the form fields are what we placed in here. These can no longer now be edited because the first signature has already been placed. When we talk about signature fields, it's very straightforward. You simply create a signature set. In this case, I called it webinar example documents, which is very suiting. And we have different settings here. The first one is the signature that we placed. And we looked for the search text with our optical character recognition tool. We searched for the signature here. We decided we want the signature field to be placed 60 millimeters wide and 25 millimeters high. And we want it above and to the right of the signature text, of the search text that we have here in the green box. And that's how straightforward it is. And we also defined we would like to have the date and the signature time automatically inserted here. On the other side, we want a company stamp automatically be inserted to the top of where the search text company stamp is found in a square that's 30 millimeters wide. And instead of having a signature of the employee, we wanted to include our digital stamp that represents our business. And that's how straightforward it is. You can include as many search words here as you want. If they do not appear in the document, the system will simply ignore it. So let's say you've got 5 different types of documents that have different search terms in it. You can simply put all of them in here, and depending on what it finds, it places a signature field in it, and it's going to leave out the other ones. So very straightforward. The last thing I promised you to show are the macro buttons. The buttons up here that you can customize. So for example, if Olivia said now, please can you send me a document via email? The employee can now simply press send email to customer. It's going to extract the information here from the field email address and send it the signed original document straight to them. If Olivia is old school and says, can you actually give it to me as a paper copy? Not a problem. Print for customer. It automatically gets sent to the printer and it can be handed to Olivia. What we want to do though is rename this document for archival purposes. So we want to take the name of the contract, so it can be easily found. We want to take Olivia's name as well as today's date when it was signed. And to save the employee more clicks, we also ask the program to automatically close the application once it's completed. So all I do is I press rename the document. You can see it works in the background. It saves it to the location that I asked it to save to, which is the desktop in our example, and it closes eSignatureOffice. And now if we have a look at my desktop, you can see here I've got contract type A7, signed by Mrs. Olivia Brown, and today's date. So let's have a look at validating the signature. All we need to do is simply open it in any free PDF reader. So that could be Adobe Reader, it could be Foxit Reader, whichever one you use, you can validate it irrespectively. So we can review it here. You can see these form fields here are locked. You can't change it because once the first signature is placed, Olivia wants to make sure that her information is contained in there and nobody can mess with it. And as we hover over here, you can see there's a first signature field and second signature field. To validate that signature, all we need to do is press right click, validate signature, and it gives us the feedback, the signature is valid. That's what we want to hear. And the second sentence is actually the more important sentence. This document has not been modified since the signature was applied. That means no manipulation attempt has been taking place. So nobody has tried to insert an additional page or delete an additional page or modify any of the information that Olivia has put in here. So let's think we're talking about a bank statement and you're making a transfer and you decide you want to transfer 100,000 euros. You would be quite annoyed if somebody was able to manipulate a document and put 150 in it and change the recipient. So electronic signatures lock all of those fields and confirm that it has not been modified since. It also gives you some metadata. You can see here the serial number of the pad in front of me that we signed with, as well as the hard drive ID of my computer that the signature pad is connected to, and my Windows username that I'm currently logged into my Windows session with. So in the future, if there's ever any doubt where the signature was taken, you can exactly trace back which signatures pad was connected to which computer and which user was logged into that computer. And of course, you've got the time in here, which is a stamp for visual purposes, but you also have it in the metadata where you can actually exactly see this document was signed on the 5th of May 2022 at 10:52 and 7 seconds, which is exactly what you see down here. That's the confirmation as well. So this is how you can simply validate signatures, and that's what your legal team will be looking for as well. So let's jump back to our presentation. In summary, why should you optimize your workflow? Because the biggest cost savings occur by staying digital and by eliminating the mistakes. You can automate steps like the document handling, so the uploading process. You can automatically allocate signature fields to contracts, as we've done here, and you can even complete the form fields, as you've seen with the name and the email address. You can sign either with our signature pads, you can use tablet PCs, or you can use your Android or iOS phones or tablets, whichever is the easiest for you, depending on the use case scenario. You're looking at an implementation timeline of usually around a week, obviously depending how complex it is, but again, we're happy to help you, and we do offer as well third level and integration support if you require it, so our team is definitely on standby with whichever question you have. And lastly, we talked about the compliance of our electronic signatures. You'll be pleased to know all of our signatures are eIDAS compliant, so they're valid anywhere in the EU, and most of the countries also accept the high EU standard. They are GDPR compliant, so from a data privacy point, you don't need to worry about it. You could see there was a very easy validation of the signatures themselves, and StepOver operates at the highest security standards by using a 4096-bit encryption, because we've got a lot of banking customers, a lot of insurance customers and governments, and they often have documents that need to be protected for 25 to 35 years, So we need to make sure that these documents stay secure, even in the digital archive. If this has been interesting for you, feel free to download a free demo version with the link here, just post in your URL, or please feel free to go on our website where you can download all of our other software for a free demo version as well. It works exactly the same as our licensed version. The only difference is that you're getting a watermark in the signature field. But so, for example, if this is interesting for your business use case, download it today, have a play around, configure it as you like it, and then once you say, okay, I want to now take the next step and make this a live version, you can use the settings. You simply need to insert a license code, and it's a plug-and-play solution from there on out. If you have any more questions that we cannot answer now, or that come to you later after you watch this video again once it's been posted on YouTube in our channel, please feel free to contact our team at info@stepover.com, where we'll also be able to help you. I now give back to Joachim for the Q&A session. Thank you so much for your attention.
Julian, on time, 1 minute over. Thank you very much. Great presentation, and for the live demo. I know that is always a challenge to do that, handle on the computer. Thank you, Julian. Very well done. Let's answer 3 questions briefly. I start with the easiest. Can you ask one person to have several signatures on one document, and can more than one person sign on one document? Is that possible?
Certainly. You can have as many signatures of as many signatories in the document as you please. It's even possible to sign a document, save it, and then when your supervisor comes back from their annual leave 2 weeks later, for them to simply upload it and sign it again. So you can place as many signatures on top of each other as you want without compromising the signatures that have been placed beforehand.
Great. Second question. You showed us how that automation works, what you can automate. Can you do that automation once and then duplicate those settings for a whole team of telesales or counter sales guys and persons?
Yes. So you only need to configure it once, and then you can export those settings to all of your workstations. And again, if you want to make a slight change in it, all you need to do is centralize it, and then you can export it again. So it's very straightforward, and they don't need to do anything.
Perfect. Last question, nearly last question, about data privacy and GDPR. You said that their solution is GDPR compliant. The easy question is, do data privacy officers hate or love that solution?
You'll be pleased to hear they love it for 2 reasons. It's a natively installed software, so this is on your computer, and we don't have any access to it. There's no data coming back to us, and also it works offline. So even if you don't have any connection to the internet, you can have it all there, and all the information is securely stored in its encrypted form. So even if it's on your private computer, you have no access to the biometric information of the signature. It is all in encrypted form.
Perfect. The last question was, and I do not answer that today, is how can you automate what you showed today with the cloud solution eSignatureOffice? Thank you for that question. This will be the topic of one of our next webinars, and we come back and answer that question directly. Thank you for that. Thanks to everybody for listening. We'll be coming up to you with an email about the recording of the webinar and with the dates and topics of our next webinar sessions. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and all the best. Thank you, Julia. Thanks to everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening.